In Covington, Georgia, a tragic case begins to unfold. Christopher McNabb now stands accused of murdering his 2-week-old child. The investigation started when the child's mother reported the infant missing, prompting an immediate response from local law enforcement. As the search intensified, McNabb stepped in front of television cameras, asking for the safe return of his child. What will this investigation reveal?
I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid.
The following day, the child's body was discovered in a wooded area near the family's home. The cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head, and the medical examiner ruled it a homicide. McNabb was later arrested and charged with the murder of his 2-week-old baby. After the trial concluded and the jury reached a guilty verdict, the case moved into the sentencing phase. During this stage, McNabb continued to claim he was innocent.
I'm innocent. I didn't do it. I've maintained that the whole time. I would never do this. That's all I got to say. I would never do it. I'm innocent.
And now, the judge allows McNabb, without realizing it, to choose the sentence he will ultimately receive.
You claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay, so they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sentence you to...
After receiving the maximum sentence, McNabb was transferred to Hayes State Prison in Tryon, Georgia, where he is now serving a life sentence. This is Franklin Williams, a man convicted of multiple felonies in Cleveland, Ohio, including armed robbery and fleeing from police.
Again, I'm going to interrupt. Mr. Williams, listen to me. I'm going to gag you in 1 second.
Williams committed 3 armed robberies before leading police on a high-speed chase. He was later arrested and convicted. Now, at his sentencing, Williams repeatedly spoke over the proceedings, continuing even after receiving more than a dozen warnings from the judge. What will the court do in response to his behavior?
That means zip it right now. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. That's a violation of the HIPAA law, Judge.
Here we go.
This led the judge to order Williams' mouth to be taped shut so the sentencing could proceed without further disruption.
If you spit on, attempt to bite, or injure any of my deputies, you're going to have a bad day.
That's what it is.
At a later court appearance, Williams returned with something he wanted to share with the judge and the cameras. What will he reveal this time?
Freedom of speech, no duct tape, with the hashtag.
Despite all the earlier interruptions, the judge is now able to proceed with delivering Williams' sentence.
You face the potential maximum consecutive sentence of 134 years. I ordered a 24-year sentence.
After Williams initially received a 24-year prison sentence, the judge later issued an apology for the use of duct tape and vacated that sentence. A new judge was then appointed to the case, and she ultimately sentenced Williams to 33 years in prison. This is Camia Gamet, charged with the murder of her boyfriend in Jackson, Mississippi. According to reports, the incident occurred during an argument between the two, ending with her boyfriend being fatally stabbed. Gamet was arrested on first-degree murder charges. In court, she claimed she acted in self-defense and that her boyfriend was attacking her. However, the jury ultimately found her guilty of murder. What will happen as the case moves into sentencing?
The way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies.
The case now moves into the sentencing phase, where Gamet repeatedly interrupted the judge throughout the proceedings.
You're going to shut your mouth or I'm going to have some duct tape put on.
With Gamet showing no sign of remorse, the judge delivered his final remarks to the court.
You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
In the end, Gamet was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This is Kimberly Kessler, who was charged with the murder of her co-worker in Nassau County, Florida. What will investigators uncover in this case?
Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Kessler was working at Tangle's Hair Salon under a false name. She had reportedly been on the run for more than 25 years and was wanted in several states. She remained unidentified until authorities connected her to the fatal stabbing of her co-worker with scissors and the alleged disposal of the body. This is Kessler after her arrest, awaiting trial on the murder charge.
Are we on mute anyway, so I can say whatever the I want.
We're not on mute.
Oh, okay.
And this is what deputies reported it was like to supervise her while she was held in the county jail.
She began to remove feces from styrofoam trays in the back of her cell and smear on herself on the walls. She began to throw feces at Smith, Miller, and I.
During the trial, Kessler had to be moved to a separate room after repeated outbursts in the courtroom.
I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jolie Cummings' cousin as my public defender. What, you don't want the public to know that?
She also continued making false claims about her former public defender throughout the proceedings.
Jordan Beard is Jolie Cummings' cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolie's cousin.
She was later found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Of all three charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
This is Kyandria Cook, who was found guilty of carjacking charges in Volusia County, Florida. Cook, then 18 years old, and her 17-year-old boyfriend used a dating app to set up a carjacking in which the boyfriend reportedly shot the victim, leaving him seriously injured. After fleeing the scene and remaining on the run, the pair attempted another carjacking just 2 days later. They were soon arrested. Now, in court, Cook stands before the judge to be sentenced for her role in the theft and the shooting. That is Cook's mother, who can be heard crying in the courtroom. According to reports, the emotional outburst was caused by a misunderstanding with the assistant public defender. Cook and her mother believed she would not receive any prison time, which led to their reaction once the sentencing began. Cook's sentence was later reduced to 11 years in prison. This is Jacob Morgan, who at 17 years old was found guilty of setting a house fire that killed a family member in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Morgan had been left alone to care for his 14-month-old stepbrother, and prosecutors later stated that he intentionally started the fire that led to the child's death. In court, Morgan appears at a probable cause hearing, where the judge addresses the case.
So therefore, I am going to find that there is probable cause to charge the individual for general session for no charge.
Morgan later accepted a plea agreement, pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter and unlawful neglect of a child. Throughout the proceedings, he said he loved his brother and continued to maintain his innocence.
I love my brother. I still do to this very day. He's my best friend. To kill him would be killing a piece of himself. And I just wish I could have gotten to him in time.
Morgan was sentenced to 15 years in prison, but after serving only 7 years, he was reportedly released. This is Ignacio Rodriguez, the primary suspect in the death of his 4-month-old son in San Antonio, Texas. Reports indicate the child suffered a fractured skull and severe bleeding to the brain. Rodriguez was identified as the lead suspect and taken into custody. Now, in court, he stands before the judge facing a capital murder charge. However, he ultimately pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, intentional or knowing injury to a child causing serious bodily injury.
Mr. Rodriguez, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
But this is the moment when the baby's mother steps forward and confronts Rodriguez in the courtroom.
It is the order of the court that you be sentenced to 50 years confinement.
When the mother begins speaking about her other child, Rodriguez interrupts, insisting that she tell the truth.
I hate more than anything what you did to our son, and for that I can never see myself forgiving you. You were supposed to be our protector, not the one to break our heart.
Court officials quickly escort Rodriguez out of the courtroom to prevent further disruption.
As she gets older, she'll start asking questions.
Then tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her how everything was supposed to be. Tell her the whole truth. Don't lie to her. Tell her the whole truth. Tell her the whole truth. The whole truth.
He is now serving a 50-year prison sentence.
Tell her the whole truth.
This is Damon Kemp, who is charged with the double murder of his roommates in Daytona Beach, Florida. Police initially responded to a reported burglary at an apartment complex, and it was there that Kemp allegedly confessed to the killings. He had been living with the two victims when both were shot multiple times inside the apartment. Now, during Kemp's bond hearing, he is brought into the courtroom in a wheelchair.
God! 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 God!
The judge attempts to get Kemp's attention, but he does not respond and continues to ignore the court.
Mr. Kemp?
God!
Damon Kemp, I'm going to conduct your first appearance.
God!
For the victim's family, the moment became too overwhelming, and they chose to step out of the courtroom. Kemp remains in the Volusia County Jail as he awaits his trial. This is Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham, both charged with homicide by child abuse in Summerville, South Carolina. Butts, who was a close friend of the child's mother, was responsible for caring for the 3-year-old for 2 weeks. The child later died from injuries that reflected prolonged abuse, a timeline that matched the period she spent with Butts and Cunningham.
What must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child is more than disconcerting to this court.
After both women were found guilty, the judge prepared to hand down their sentences.
The court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life.
They were each sentenced to life in prison. Butts and Cunningham are reportedly being held in separate facilities, each serving a life sentence. This is Anthony Kirkland, a convicted serial killer from Cincinnati, Ohio.
They say I am evil and a monster. They're right. Even my mom hated me, but I don't blame her.
Kirkland had previously served a 16-year prison sentence for the killing of his ex-girlfriend. A few years after his release, he began a new series of murders. Over a 3-year period, he killed 4 women, 2 of whom were teenagers. Kirkland was arrested after the 4th murder when he was found with the victim's watch and iPod, making him a primary suspect. Investigators later connected all 4 killings to him. Now, in court, as the charges are read, Kirkland faces the death penalty and then appears to faint. What will happen next as the hearing continues?
Count 4, aggravated murder.
Kirkland was later found guilty on all charges and sentenced to death. He is currently on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Facility, awaiting execution. This concludes today's case. Thank you for watching. For more courtroom stories and legal coverage, consider subscribing.